I'm on? Okay, good. Okay, let me start from the beginning. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the April 17th meeting of the Skokie Plan Commission. First order of business is to take the attendance. Commissioner Speyer is absent. Commissioner Scott Berman
Here.
is present. Commissioner Franklin.
Present.
Commissioner Giviahu is absent. Commissioner Gupta is absent. Commissioner Jeff Berman.
Here.
Commissioner Matei.
Here.
And I am present. And we do have a quorum. Next order of business is to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes? Okay. Any additions or questions of the minutes? Okay, none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes have been approved. Okay, first case tonight is case 2025-40P, site plan approval. Site plan approval is being requested for a one-lot plan development to include a six-story mixed-use building with 58 residential units and ground floor commercial with an outdoor dining area, an expansion of the existing commercial building at 7252 Lincoln Avenue that will contain a child and youth services, and a restaurant with a four-season outdoor dining area, covered and surface parking and stormwater detention to serve the development will be reviewed tonight. Is a petitioner here?
Yes.
Please come up. Right to the podium there, yeah, yes. Right to the podium where the microphone is, please. Okay. Give us your name, please.
Tyler Manick.
Yes, and your relationship to the petitioner.
I'm the attorney for the
Okay,
petitioner.
very good. Is there notice and order, Counselor?
Yes, notice is proper and correct.
Very good, thank you. I assume that these associates are petitioners and they're going to offer testimony? Is that correct? Okay, I'm going to swear them in, okay?
Correct.
Anybody who's going to give testimony tonight? Okay, do you affirm that the testimony you give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you?
Yes. I do.
Thank you. Counselor, please. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. We changed the order. I generally had in a previous agenda, we would have the petitioner come up and speak. Now, we're revamping it. We're going to have the staff present its report. Then I will ask you to come up and then give your presentation. So I apologize. Okay. But I did have to ask you up to get the notice approved. Thank you. Jose?
Good evening, Commissioners and Chairman Luke. I'd like to ask that the staff report be accepted into the record as written. Case 2025-04P involves a proposed one-lot development featuring a new six-story mixed-use building. It would include 58 residential units, ground floor retail space with an outdoor area, and a restaurant with a year-round outdoor dining space. The project also includes expanding the existing commercial building at 7952 Lincoln Avenue to house a child and youth services use in the CX Core Mixed Use District. Staff recommends that the petitioner's request for site plan approval for this one-lot plan development be approved, subject to the satisfactory resolution of outstanding items, subject to the recommended conditions, and subject to the attached proposed positive findings of fact. This is the street view from Lincoln Avenue facing northwest on the subject site. There are currently two driveways that will be removed and replaced with a single driveway on Lincoln Avenue and another on Oakton Street for ingress and egress to the site. This view from the north end of the site facing south shows the existing building that previously held the Bank of America and that will remain and will receive an addition for the proposed youth and child services use. and this is the aerial view of the site. Regarding land use, the proposed new addition to the existing building that will serve as the location for Action Behavior Center is classified as a child and youth services use, which is not an allowable ground floor use on a retail street. The CX mixed-use district specifies that ground floor uses must be reserved for retail and other services open to customers, and upper stories may be other commercial uses. According to section 118-272 of the Village Code, a planned development must include only uses allowed within its zoning districts. However, under the proportionate exception clause, up to 20% of the gross floor area may be allocated to other uses. Since Action Behavior Center occupies only 11.5% of the overall development, it qualifies for consideration under this provision. The new mixed-use building is planned to have 58 apartments on floors 2 through 6. The breakdown of these units would be 5 studio apartments, 37 one-bedroom apartments, 11 two-bedroom apartments, and 5 three-bedroom apartments. This mix is designed to offer a variety of housing options within the building. As part of the project, 5% of the total apartments will be set aside as affordable housing for at least 25 years, following the village's affordable housing requirements. These affordable units will include one one-bedroom unit and one two-bedroom unit for households earning up to 80% of the area median income, and one three-bedroom unit for a household earning up to 60% of the AMI. As mentioned earlier, the proposed planned development includes changes to how vehicles will enter and exit the site. The current right turn only entrance from Oakton Street, which is managed by the Village of Skokie, would be moved slightly west and redesigned to allow both right turns in and out. The existing one-way entrance from Lincoln Avenue under IDOT's jurisdiction would be widened to become a two-way driveway. Additionally, the one-way exit onto Lincoln Avenue at the south end of the site would be removed. In addition to seeking site plan approval for the planned development, the petitioner is requesting relief on 4 specific items. Number 1, relief from section 118-93E2C to allow an outdoor dining area with a within a 50-foot site distance triangle. Relief from section 118-184A to allow a building height of 19 feet along a retail street where a 25-foot minimum height is required in the CX district. Relief from section 118-212A1 to allow parking stall widths of 8.5 feet instead of the required 9 feet, and an aisle width of 20 feet instead of the required 24. And finally, relief from section 118-218B to reduce the guest parking space requirement based on the shared parking agreement under section 118-211. I'd like to note that this condition may be struck and not carry forward to the board when the applicant provides appropriate documentation and staff approval of off-street parking location occurs. The proposed planned development is required to provide 104 off-street parking spaces. The current proposal includes 71 spaces, resulting in a deficit of 33 spaces. In the CX mixed-use district, off-street parking for non-residential uses and residential guest parking is not required to be located on the same lot as the use. The applicant and Action Behavior Center staff are finalizing arrangements for off-site parking at the following locations: Ace Hardware, located at 5035 Oakland Street, to utilize 20 parking spaces Monday through Saturday after 5 p.m. Devar Emet Synagogue, located at 7800 Niles Avenue, to utilize 36 parking spaces in the adjacent lot Monday through Sunday after 5 p.m. And at St. Peter and Lambert Catholic Church, located at 8116 Niles Center Road, to utilize 20 parking spaces specifically for Action Behavior Center staff during normal business hours. These arrangements have currently been shared with the village via email and remain subject to staff approval as per section 118-207 of the Village Code. And the following are the proposed findings of fact for this development. It is not anticipated that this request will adversely affect adjacent properties. Adequate public facilities currently exist or will be improved to serve the requested use. Adequate provisions for maintenance of the associated structures is demonstrated by the request, as all requirements of the village code will be expected to be upheld at all times, as the site is expected to improve stormwater management and the addition of the new underground detention system. No adverse effects on the natural environment are anticipated. It is not anticipated that this request will create undue traffic congestion, subject to further evaluation of the traffic flow and proposed changes in signal timings by village staff. Public health, safety, and welfare will not be adversely affected by the request, as the proposed improvements will activate an underutilized site, and the request will conform to all applicable provisions of the code as a matter of requirement. Additional considerations for planned developments. The project enhances the downtown sector through enhanced stormwater infrastructure, retail amenities, and by bringing more housing online to contribute to the vibrancy of the corridor. The proposed planned development will not create an environment that is detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of persons residing within it or its vicinity, in so much the adopted conditions are adhered to. The recommended site plan approval conditions from staff are in the packet on the screen for your review. To summarize, the subject property shall be developed in substantial conformance with the final village-approved plans and be submitted as electronic files. The petitioner shall develop the subject property in substantial conformance with the final village-approved plan set. The proposed development shall have a minimum of 72 off-street vehicle parking spaces, including 5 accessible parking spaces and a minimum of 12 bicycle parking spaces. Final approved plans must include minimum internal sidewalk widths of 5 feet and should specify the widths of the inbound and outbound lanes on Oakton Street. 5% of the actual housing units are to be reserved for leasing for at least 25 years in accordance with the affordable housing requirement of the village code, and will be comprised of the following housing mix: 1 one-bedroom unit and 1 two-bedroom unit at 80% AMI, and 1 three-bedroom unit at 60% AMI. And prior to the issuance of any and all building permits, the petitioner shall submit recorded covenants of all off-site parking agreements related to the required parking and in consideration of valet in accordance to section 118-207 to be included as attachments with the plan development ordinance.
These are standard recommendations?
Some of these, yes. Some of these are specific to this case. Any future use of the space to be occupied by Action Behavior Center under the proportionate exception must be a permitted or special use and shall not be replaced by another prohibited ground floor use on a retail street if the current proposed use, ABC, ceases operations for any amount of time. Prior to the issuance of any temporary or final certificates of occupancy, the petitioner shall provide the village with copies of active scavenger, recycling, composting, and snow removal contracts that provide the terms enumerated in the site plan approval application. At the time of the service change, the petitioner will provide the village updated contract information within 30 days of such change. And the expansion of the existing proportionate exception will require a full review by the Plan Commission and Village Board and will not be eligible for a modified review. And an additional condition to be incorporated prior to review by the Village Board of Trustee reads, prior to the issuance of any temporary or of any building permits, the petitioner shall provide the village with a construction management plan. Now Mike Wojtek will be presenting case 2025-05P.
Good evening. Case 2025-05P is a subdivision of 3 lots into 1 lot. And it includes a dedication of varying widths of Lincoln Avenue right of way to the Illinois Department of Transportation. Staff recommends that this subdivision be approved for the site, subject to the recommended conditions and attached proposed positive findings of fact. the site on the screen right now shows a portion of the property extending out into the center line of Lincoln Avenue. This property, I believe, has never been subdivided since the 1880s, so it is an older tract of land that was parceled out over time to match previous ownerships on the property. And so we have situations not only in this part of town, but other parts of town where we occasionally will have a property that extends into a center line of a right-of-way, this being under IDOT's jurisdiction. So there's one dedication of 33 feet that's going to take place at that south parcel, just immediately north of the Skokie Theater location. And then the second dedication will be a corner dedication at Oakton Street and Lincoln Avenue, and that will be made in order to place the public sidewalk entirely within the public right-of-way. Right now, the bank's property, former bank property, extends out into that public sidewalk, and so this will pull that public area further onto the public sidewalk as it's actively being used. And then the final portion of the dedication to the property will be a 3-foot dedication along Lincoln Avenue to bring the west half of Lincoln into compliance with our subdivision code, which requires a 33-foot wide dedication from center line to right, currently 30 feet along the west side of Lincoln Avenue.
I'm surprised that dedication wasn't taken care of years ago when the bank came in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the last time there was any major case on the site was in the early 1990s when they constructed the teller lanes. So it wasn't cleaned up at that time. But we're getting things fixed. This will be a single lot with a single legal description, and it will be.
No, you haven't raised any issues, so.
Yeah, and we're getting the sidewalk into.
Cleaning it up.
Yeah, sidewalks going on the right of way. The streets getting into getting into the right of way. So we're putting things in the appropriate jurisdictions.
Okay. Any questions of the staff?
Yes.
Why are we concerned with the subsidiary auxiliary parking lots at Ace Harbor and other places when we can recognize that we have lots of public parking immediately to the west in the city lot and in the library lot?
I'll have Jose
And,
answer that question.
and by the way, one more, and
Yes,
for us, and to the north on Oakton, where we just built the 8,000 building, and there's public parking in that. So we know there's lots of parking nearer to the site than would be Ace Hardware and the synagogue and something else. St. Lane.
Those lots you speak of would be more of shared lots, and these covenants that and parking agreements that the petitioner is requesting would be specifically for the residential portion of the development. So while all the other parking in the area is shared for all the other businesses, local, like I said, local businesses, the parking agreements would be just for this site.
I would also add that the parking lot for the village hall can be very filled up for a board meeting, for something at the library. It's not unusual that on those Monday evenings or a Thursday evening, if there's something important happening that draws a lot of people, that those lots are going to be filled, and we spill into the neighborhood. We utilize the parking lot for the farmers market, things like where are people going to park on a Sunday morning if they want to go to brunch at the restaurant or visit a friend at so trying to also match the underutilized parking in some of those adjacent parking lots when they're not being used is an opportunity here. So we're keeping that parking that people want in downtown there, because there's always a balance. You want to be transit oriented and pedestrian friendly, but the first thing you hear is that people can't park when they want to go there. There's that Onion headline: 98% of people want others to take public transportation, and in inner ring communities often struggle with that. They want to be mixed use and urban, but then people still have reliance on a car. So we take the pedestrian orientation and the transit oriented very seriously, but we also want to make sure that there are places for cars, so we don't have a situation where these roads are functioning where people are cycling and looking for parking.
So one follow-up question to that. Are we then requiring as a condition that I see that these are in the works, it says in our current plan, but it does not say that any agreements have been made. So is that a condition that agreements must be made for a certain number of parking spaces to fit a certain number of units? That's one question. And along with that, there's mention of valet parking for the restaurant. I think somewhere in one of the slides. And I'm not sure why valet parking for the restaurant matters unless there's such inadequate parking on site for the combination of residential units and restaurant parking. I want everything to succeed. I want there to be plenty of parking.
I was gonna get into that because,
Oh.
let's say on a Saturday night, you have a restaurant, Labor Todd, who's very busy, and the people, you know, basically parking on the street, because they don't have on-site parking. Then you have a new restaurant that's opening up across from the theater, and, you know, I don't know how many people they're gonna draw. And then when the theater, you know, the theater crowd, you know, when they have performances, and if all three, and coupled with this new restaurant, this could be.
So
could be-
my question is,
I can understand the valet parking for the restaurant. but-
my question is merely, are the conditions that we're passing tonight, assuming that we do pass this, such that it relates 1-to-1 as a ratio to the apartment units? Or is it a relationship to the valet parking, or is it both? And then also, is it conditioned on achieving those agreements with those subsidiary auxiliary users? So, Jose?
So,
So that's the question, are those all conditions that we are passing tonight or not?
Yes.
They are.
okay.
Both valet, apartment, and auxiliary units.
Correct.
Auxiliary parking is all part of this plan.
Yeah.
And without it, it doesn't go forward.
The other thing to note is, this space for the downtown has been functioning as a quasi-public parking lot. There's been no enforcement. People can park and come and go, they don't get towed. And so taking that away, even though it was never something that was given, is going to be a bit of a squeeze for the businesses in the area. We want to be mindful of making sure that, my understanding, and the petitioner can speak to this if you would like him to, he has attempted to meet with as many businesses as he can to try to explain his plan and how he's trying to be supportive and complementary to the downtown and not disruptive. Sometimes developers, in my experience, will come in and say, tough luck, it's your problem, you've been getting the thing for free all these years, but it is not, in my experience in this moment, that this petitioner is trying to make it difficult for the businesses. He wants to be a good neighbor.
Okay, very good. Right. Yes.
Is, it's some of the lots suggested, particularly if weather is inclement, are a bit of a distance for a walk. Is there anticipation of some kind of shuttle service or something from some of them? I mean, I'm confused about that some of these that are fairly far off are acceptable alternatives.
Yeah, perhaps the petitioner can comment on that, as not been clear to staff what the plan is exactly for the
Okay.
parking arrangements. but-
All right, and then, so one other thing while you're up there is, I hate to do this every time, but since there will be a restaurant, outdoor dining, what have you, can we please put the typical trash requirements in and the 4-hour
Yes.
policing requirement?
It is one of the conditions.
Really? I didn't see it in here. Is it in here already?
It's a standard condition.
Okay.
So I don't know that is still in here, because one of we do have the trash and composting and recycling, but I think one of the reasons we may have not necessarily removed it, it's still in the village code, so repeating it here has, as well as other,
Redundant.
if it's like we're taking a snapshot of right now of what the code is. If we strengthen it over time, then the language might actually be weaker. So there's other conditions there that's more of a condition that has presented a challenge, but we already require some of these things from a property maintenance. If there's trash on site, we can still cite and ticket. So there's not a, we have it in our code, our ability to enforce it. We don't necessarily need it to be a condition here.
Okay.
I know that is important to you, Commissioner.
Okay, any further questions of the staff? Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. Okay, now I ask the petitioner to come up. Thank you. Okay, and again, sir, would you just please give us your name and everything for the record?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. For the record, my name is Tyler Manick. I'm an attorney with Shane Banks, Kenny and Schwartz. I'm the attorney for the applicant, 7952 Lincoln LLC. I'm joined by Katie Lambert. She's with OKW. She's a project architect. We have Steve Corcoran here. He's our traffic engineer to answer any questions. Paul Leongas, who is the applicant's manager and the developer of this project, and Philippe Georgios, who is gonna be managing and operating the restaurant. I know we had some questions. I figure I'd just go through our presentation and then answer these questions at the end. So as Mr. Costa mentioned, we're here about 7952 Lincoln Avenue. It's presently improved with vacant commercial building. I believe it's been last used in 2022. The property is zoned CX core mixed use. We're here to develop this lot with a mixed-use development. There will be a 6-story mixed-use residential building with 58 dwelling units and 1,750 square feet of retail space, which we anticipate to be a cafe with outdoor seating for that cafe. And we're also adaptively reusing the former Bank of America building. It's a single-story commercial building. It's gonna have 9,778 square feet of commercial space. It'll be split up into 2 commercial tenants. There's gonna be a restaurant called Avi, which we'll get into. That's a high-end Mediterranean restaurant, which will hold the corner of Oakton and Lincoln. And the second tenant will be Action Behavior Center, which is a preeminent national provider of applied behavior analysis therapy for children on the autism spectrum, which is a nice little synergy with some of the establishments nearby. We're also going to have, as we alluded to before, access to 147 parking spaces. 71 of those spaces will be on site. 76 additional spaces will be off-site, and we can talk at the end of how these sites were chosen, why valet is being brought into this, and how it all work. We're also proposing the availability of some of the site for special events in the event that the public ever wants to use it for small markets, live music performances, or other public gatherings, but that would only be allowed under a special events license, and if the public desired. We're not intending to host anything, it's just something out there for the public. And then, as was mentioned in the staff report, this also includes a public dedication of 4,394 feet. That's currently within the applicant's property lines, but for all intents and purposes, it's sitting on Lincoln Public Way. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Katie, who's going to talk you through the design of this project.
Okay. Hi, good evening. I'm Katie Lambert, partner with OKW Architects. So again, I know we just looked at some existing photos of the site, but I think this is a really important launching point to talk about really the design and how it evolved. You know, fundamentally, I think that we believe that this Bank of America building is really a beautiful piece of architecture. It just needs a little bit of TLC and some new life with new tenancy. And so, you know, keeping and reusing the Bank of America building was really kind of, I guess, the start of how our plan began to evolve. So as we look at the plan, again, we talked about this being a combination of 2 distinct buildings. So the building on the north, which you see in the light orange and dark orange, is again, it's that Bank of America building repurposed. Outside of this dashed line is basically an appendage that forms an addition onto that building and allows us to achieve the square footage that we will need at EVI as well as ADC's use. So both uses will work nicely into the combined repurposed building as well as the addition. Between that building and the multi-story building to the south is the 2-way drive access from Lincoln Avenue. And this is the space we're showing in impermeable pavers, meant to be a bit of a decorative accent on the site. This is the space that Tyler just referred to that would potentially be available for special events to the public during certain times of the year. The L-shaped building that you see on the south includes retail parking, residential entry at grade, and then 5 levels of resident units above. So a total of a 6-story building. I think in terms of how it's sited, we paid special attention to making sure that any garage parking was really screened architecturally from Lincoln Avenue. And so as you're walking down Lincoln Avenue, this really becomes a vibrant part of streetscape with a combination of a small retailer, maybe coffee shop, as well as that residential entry experience. So the dark gray on the lower left becomes covered garage parking that'll likely be dedicated to the residents. We had talked earlier about the need for variances on some of the parking dimensions. Those are entirely within this garage, and so, again, expected to be very low turnover in how those spaces are actually accessed. This page shows an enlarged version of that multi-family mixed-use building and the ground floor plan for it, so that you can kind of get a sense of how it works. So there would be an entrance to the residences along Lincoln Avenue. That residential lobby space is shown in the light blue. Residents would also be able to access from either the garage or from the surface parking on the west. Smaller space that we've dedicated as retail, again, could be kind of coffee shop, small cafe, that would have its own small outdoor seating as well. And then this shows the typical plans up above. So it's really, the scale of the building is nice. Again, total of 58 units, all different unit sizes ranging from studio, 1-bed, 2-bed, 3-bed. So really providing, I think, a nice variety. None of these units are micro units. They're all really kind of, I think, standard to the market today in terms of what we see available. Top floor, 6th floor, would have an additional amenity space, and that's what's shown in yellow on this plan. And really the intent of positioning it where it's located is to start to activate that street facade on Lincoln. So if you look up from Lincoln Avenue, you sense the activity at the top of the building. There would be a small outdoor roof deck. You might be able to see people enjoying a warm summer day. And again, it all really just goes towards contributing to the vibrancy of the streetscape. This is an enlarged plan showing the restaurant and ABC building. And again, just kind of giving you a better sense of how it works. We think that, locating Evie on the hard corner at Oakton and Lincoln is really going to serve to activate that corner in a terrific way. The ABC is the darker orange, and so we are keeping the existing entry point as part of the architectural features of the building. It's really, I think, important as you walk down that street because there's so much history, I think, in terms of the architecture itself. ABC will be using a slightly different access point to access their reception area, which are the doors that you see to the left of that. So these renderings start to give you a sense of the look and feel of the project. We were really, as I mentioned, inspired by a lot of the existing architecture in the downtown Skokie area. And I think we worked really closely with staff on this idea of developing an architecture that's respectful to what's there, but also looks like 21st century buildings. And so this corner shows really a little bit of kind of how the Abbey building would be dressed up to present a more vibrant current restaurant space within that building. And then beyond, you can see the multifamily building. Again, trying to pick up on some of the vertical detailing in the theater building and other buildings around the area that we think is very beautiful. The design of kind of these overlapping volumes was really intentional and meant to provide a lot of architectural interest. And then this shows that addition that would allow the ABC space to function with the square foot. This actually shows the four-season outdoor space and gives you a sense, I think, of the transparency that you can expect at that corner, meant to really feel lively both in the summer and also throughout the winter. So these were just some inspirational images when we started talking about that space. It's actually pictured right here. And the idea that it could be made available for special events. And we just wanted to pull images to help people understand, really what the possibilities could be.
So I'm just gonna wrap this up. I know this was touched upon in the staff report, but in red outline, that's the area that's the 4,394 square feet that's being dedicated, which currently, de facto sits in the public way. And this last slide just kind of highlights some different ways that this project fulfills the comprehensive plan's goals. I know the staff report really touches upon this a lot too, but we're here trying to activate an underutilized and abandoned lot in the downtown area to enhance the pedestrian experience, creating a safer area and promote walkability of the downtown area. This development should create a lot of foot traffic for the area, which will have a spillover effect for surrounding businesses. There's going to be a lot of job creation through this development to increase economic activity. We are including the 3 affordable housing units on site. There's going to be a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, so it's going to have a variety of different residences available for affordable housing, and we have the public dedication to land. So with that in mind, we're happy to answer any questions that you may have about this project, and I'll bring up who's the appropriate person to answer.
Any questions of the petitioner?
I'll re-ask the parking question again. Do you anticipate that every unit tenant will have a parking space assigned in the building? Or is there a spread of tenant users of those parking spaces within the building and elsewhere, and restaurant parking? So how do you expect to, and then you follow up with a discussion of this valet idea, or following up on Jeff's question of, is there some sort of a shuttle service for far away lots? We know as Skokie residents how far it really is to walk in bad weather, 2 or 3 blocks to these parking lots that you're suggesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So every resident is going to have an assigned spot on site.
Okay.
And that's 58 of the 71 spaces. Originally, this project evolved a little bit. It was originally a 5-story, 48-unit building, but throughout the process, it was encouraged to have more density in the downtown area. So we went with some 10 more units, which kind of threw off our original parking ratio. But we still have 1 space per unit.
Okay.
And then there's still 14 spaces left over. ABC and the restaurant, their busy times don't overlap. They're synergistic, whereas ABC's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, the restaurant's after 5. So really, they can share those on-site spaces as well as guests, because ABC is not going to be using the evening one. And ABC is not people aren't doing much other drop-off there, and their staff, they're the ones that arranged for the St. Peter's, so they're comfortable just for their staff parking with this, the St. Peter's lot. And then as far as the valet, Dean can speak to that, but it's just an amenity that we thought with, as Johanna mentioned, that some people are using the lot informally for parking now. This valet is going to be free for all the surrounding businesses as well as Evie. So, we're creating that parking, and the valet companies, they're comfortable with those walking distances. They're not, that's their job. They're not coming to the restaurant for a relaxing experience. They're working. 25 of those spaces, or we have 20, but I found out today it's 25 at the Ace Hardware, which is just a block. Plus you have that abundance. I know that certain days get really busy for the public parking, but I'm doubtful when it's inclement weather that those are the days where you're jam-packed downtown. I would anticipate the nice summer days is when we get really busy, in which case then we have the valet service to use all these other lots.
Okay.
And last but not least, with the guest parking, as Katie mentioned, they're mainly 1-bedroom units. They're not hosting dinner parties out there. Guests are meeting and going to the restaurants around in public spaces. So the guest parking needs is really minimal, if at all. And then, Joanna also made the joke about public transit, but it is
It's certainly a shared amenity for everybody in downtown.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Thursday night, I made sure that it was, and there's quite a bit out there.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Related to hours, I just wanted to confirm, so ABC is going to be a daytime operation and the restaurant will be.
Well, the restaurant will serve lunch and brunch on the weekends and lunch during the days, but I think I was more alluding to when the restaurant's busy times would be, is more of an evening-oriented restaurant.
I have one more question. Are leases already signed with both of these users, ABC and Evie Restaurant?
Yes, yes.
Good.
We just, I think the condition is, in the code, there's a recorded covenant, and, you know, as preparing, we didn't get to the recorded covenant part, but we have signed leases.
Great. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to come up and have a question or comment? Please come up. And can we have your name for the record, please?
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Wayne Bell. I am the general manager of the Skokie Theater, which is right next to this property. I am here with Wendy Kaplan, who is the owner of the building. And as all of you have been sitting here asking questions, you've brought up a lot of our concerns. The statement was made that this request is harmonious and does not adversely affect adjacent properties, but we see it as affecting us extremely, all right? Both because of the lack of parking and because of the access to our building that this will cut off, all right? Yes, we are one of those people who has been using that lot, you know, unofficially all this time, but we did it with the blessings of the bank and we did it with the blessings of the village. And that is one of the things our reputation is based on, is that people can come to our show instead of going down into the city, because of fast and easy parking in downtown Skokie, okay? We bring 15,000 visitors to that area every year, okay? And they need somewhere to park. So this plan to take off the southern exit from the parking and make that unavailable basically means that there is no parking for our customers, those 15,000 people, except for what little street parking is around, okay? And things up by the St. Peter's Church, or the 8,000 building, or if there's public space available. Those are all very, very far away from us, as you've all mentioned, all right? Additionally, 60% of our business is senior citizens. They're not, you know, young people who can park and will take a nice leisurely walk. We've got people with walkers, we have people with wheelchairs, and by losing that section of the parking lot, we lose the ability for a drop-off zone. Okay, the way the street is constructed there with that traffic light right there at the corner of Galitz and Lincoln and Niles Center, okay, you can't pull up in front of our building and let somebody out. The street there dips lower than the sidewalk by about a foot, so even when people try, they can't step up from the street to the sidewalk without some kind of an assistance. The opening of the hotspot already has affected, you know, us in that respect. We had shows this last weekend, had a lot of people comment on how hard it was to find parking, because the restaurant had just opened and that lot was entirely taken up by 6 o'clock with the trade from the restaurant, with the hotspot, all right? There's a little bit of parking to the south of them that they have to share with the Skokie House. There's very little parking up by Chase Bank, and everything else is not in the immediate area. You know, as Director Nyland pointed out, there is no public parking south of Oakton in that area, all right? So we're kind of at a loss as to what we can do. Now, they have generously offered the valet service to us, and I'm sure that'll help the other restaurants, but it really isn't gonna help us, and it's not really gonna help them, because we hold events, and the event is over at a specific time. Our building has a capacity of 140 people. They all leave at the same time. If you have 50 people descending on the valet stand at the same moment, then they're gonna be standing there for an hour, okay? I don't know where the valet stand is gonna be. Is it indoor? Is it outdoor? What's that gonna do in the wintertime if we've got 50 people waiting outdoors or waiting 2 blocks away from the stand or trying to wait in the lobby of the restaurant for the valet to come? But nonetheless, what's that gonna do to the restaurant customers who now have to wait through 50 of our people before they get their car? That's gonna be a bad situation for everybody. So these remote parking facilities, even though it would be helpful to our employees, and there are times we could have 20 or 30 employees working in a night because of the performers and the tech crew and all of these people. You know, they can take advantage of the ACE hardware, or the church, or the 8,000 building for the employee parking, but that really is not gonna work for our patrons. And especially the patrons who have mobility issues, and, you know, need assistance to walk. People with wheelchairs, people with walkers. Really, the only people who are gonna be able to get to our building are full, able-bodied people. And
For the record, there is
Yes.
a public lot just to the south of you.
with about 20 spaces, half of which are reserved for downtown employees.
Well, that's during the day.
That's during the day.
Your events are in the evening, mainly on the weekends, correct?
Mainly, but we've got Sunday afternoons, we have Wednesday afternoons, sometimes we do Friday afternoons.
Okay.
So it's a variety, but also, but that lot is not, it's a small lot. There are 2 businesses adjacent to it right now.
Would it help if we try to add more handicap parking there?
Well, then we're asking the handicapped people to cross the street,
Mm-hmm.
and that's treacherous. That's a very busy intersection there.
Well, there's a stoplight there.
I know, but, you know, I've been working there for 10 years. I'm trying to get out of that lot, take a left turn across 2 lanes of
No,
traffic.
I'm just throwing up ideas here.
Just that- I mean, yes, anything is helpful.
Sure.
Any public lot is helpful, any additional spaces are helpful. But in doing this, we've lost, and just as important as the parking, we've lost the access. We have no loading zone. So when we're bringing things in and out, when we're loading business in and out, we've lost the north side of our building. Those parking spots are now no longer available from the street, and they're there for the tenants. So we can't pull a small truck up there and unload on the side of the building the way we're used to. We can't do that, okay? And, yes, the municipal lots are directly to the west, but that's still a fair piece from business, and it's not safe to pull a truck like that up in front, on Lincoln Avenue and park right by the front doors of the building, because it's too close to that intersection. It's a bad place to do it. I watch Uber drivers do it every night, dropping people off in the restaurants, and I'm still shocked that no one's been hit by some car coming down Lincoln Avenue getting ready to make a turn with this car parked there.
Okay.
So we do feel that it is extremely detrimental to our business and to the property.
Okay, thank you. We will, take your comments into account.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to comment or have a question? Okay, very good. Commissioners, we have a site plan approval, case 2025-04P. This is the site plan approval, and do we need to vote on the relief, or is that included? Separate relief, okay. On the 4 items of relief, okay. So, do I have a motion?
What 4 items, are they included in one motion, or we're gonna do this 4 times?
Well, it'll have to be a separate motion, a second vote.
Typically, we've done the relief as separate motions, so let's do it separate.
Okay, we'll do it separately.
And one more thing, are the conditions part of one of those motions or a separate one? That is the conditions of parking and valet and
think they're
remote
separate.
lots? It's separate?
Yes.
And is the dedication of the street
The
back
dedication
to?
is part of this. It doesn't need a separate vote.
So you should read to us what you want the first motion to be, because I'm not sure I understand the separation out
Well,
of the.
I would,
Yes?
it's,
a motion on the site plan.
yeah, it's motion to the site plan.
As presented.
Call for the vote. Commissioner Scott Berman.
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin.
Aye.
Commissioner Jeff Berman. Commissioner Matei. And I'll vote aye. Okay, now on the 4 relief items.
Each one separately, or?
No, they're together.
I'm still not sure what those items are.
They were, yeah, do you want Jose to,
Yes, please.
Bring back-
Sure.
Jose, can you put that slide up?
And this is not 05P yet for the resub?
No.
Okay, that's fine. So then I'd like to know what the relief is that we're voting on. Yes.
Building height.
Uh-huh.
Mike, was the dedication in the subdivision? Okay.
You just had it. Outdoor dining, building height,
Yeah, those are the 4 items for relief.
stall width, reduce the guest parking requirement. I move approval of the requested items of relief as presented by the staff,
All 4.
all 4, at one time.
Okay, do I have a second? Who's that? Okay. Okay. Call for the vote. Commissioner Scott Berman.
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin.
Aye.
Commissioner Jeff Berman. Commissioner Matei. Now vote aye. Motion passes. Just as, okay, let's move on to case 2025-05P. This is related, this is the subdivision, which also includes a dedication.
I see. I will move approval of 2025-05P subdivision as presented.
Okay, do I have a second? Thank you. Call for the vote. Commissioner Scott Berman.
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin.
Aye.
Commissioner Jeff Berman. Commissioner Matei. And I'll vote aye. The motion passes. Now, both these cases still need to go before the Board of Trustees for their final approval. They meet on the first and third Monday of every month. And if you want, give us your name and address or email address. We will notify you when that meeting will be. We will also make available to you my report. Okay? All right. Are there any other public comments that are not related to this case? Not seeing any? Make a mo-
Oh, I'm sorry.
yes.
You said it.
I'll make
Yes.
a motion that we adjourn.
Okay. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. Motion adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you.